Hi everyone, welcome back. This week's probably going to be a pretty short one. I don't really have a lot to show you in terms of stitching unless I get off on a tangent, which is entirely possible. Yes, I like to talk and I like to talk about my stitching. So I may go off on a tangent. But first things first, the title of this video is Learning Curve, and I am... Hi Lexi. I am obviously still learning a lot of things. One of them is precisely how much time this is taking me, and that is a lot. The learning curve on making these videos is huge, and although I expected it, I still, for some reason, wasn't prepared for it. So I think that what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to stop weekly posting, and I'm going to start going with posting every 2 weeks, and that's just because I'm not getting enough stitching done, I think, to really make a discussion of my different projects worthwhile. As you'll see this week, I got very little done, so it's not a lot of, there's not a lot to show. And I don't think that that's interesting for people that are watching. I think it's kind of frustrating for me because I feel like I'm not making any progress. And the other thing I want to do is I want to learn more about editing, and I want to do some of those learn by doing videos that I've talked about that I haven't really had a chance to do yet, because I just don't have the time. They take lead time to set up, they take time to plan out, time to actually film, and time to then edit everything together. And the problem that I'm having is I have family things that I have to do. A lot of times my weekends aren't necessarily mine, whether it be I'm traveling for family. Last week I had an out-of-state job interview. I just don't have a lot of time to do those things, and I think if I go to a bi-weekly posting schedule, that'll give me time, because I'll have that week in between that I can work on new stuff, so I'm not just constantly showing you whips that have gotten about 100 stitches of progress done since the last time you saw them. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll go ahead and jump right into what I've been working on this week. Like I said, I didn't really have a lot of time to work this week. I think in the last 2 days I've actually gotten more stitching in than I did all of last week. So yeah, don't expect a lot of progress. It is March, the first week of March. I think by the time this posts it'll be March 4th. So a lot's happened. A new chapter of Letters from Hogwarts has come out, and it's awesome, and I can't wait to get to work on it. A new chapter of Grimm's Fairy Tales came out. I'm nowhere near done with February, which you're about to see. And the Avatar Stitch Along finally started, and I'm already in love. So we'll talk about those. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing. I'm kind of going to change the way I focus on my projects. Again, this is it's a learning curve. I've got so many projects that when I do magical stitches homework, which I believe I've mentioned magical stitches before, I end up doing like 100 stitches on 5 different projects and nothing's getting done. So I've decided that I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take penalty stitches on magical stitches, which actually has the benefit of making me stitch more. I'm not going to stop doing magical stitches because first, it's a lot of fun, and second, it does actually getting those stitch number goals actually helps me get a lot more work done, I think, than I normally would. This past week is the first week I didn't actually make the stitch goal. And it was because I forgot that the month ended on Saturday and I was waiting until Sunday like I normally do. Yes, hi Lexi, I like you too. So I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to pick one of my stitch-alongs and one of my other projects every week to focus on. And hopefully that'll help me make a little bit more progress on some of these projects, because I'm getting bored of them. I'm sure you're getting bored of seeing the same projects over and over again. I mean, there are 10 of them. So it's not like you're seeing the same one or two. Lexi, no, go away. Not like you're seeing the same one or two projects, but you're seeing the same things over and over again with very little progress made. So I'm going to switch to that for both of our sakes. So anyway, yes, what I worked on last week. I got in about 400 stitches, but it was divided across 3 projects, so I didn't make much progress at all. The first one is Grimm's Fairy Tales, and let me pop this off. No, I'm not going to. And I don't think I've actually posted this one since I finished January's. So you can see I finished the Bremerton Musicians. It turned out adorable. I am loving this hand over dyed thread and just the variegation that it's showing. I've done it a couple of different ways on this, and then on the lettering. On the flowers and on the lettering, I've done it with a lasso start. So a lasso start and then Dutch style where you make the full X's. And then on these flowers, I've done Dutch style, but I've done a loop start. So that's kind of muddling the colors a little bit more, because instead of having 2 strands that are the same concentration of dye all the way down, I'm kind of looping it around. So it muddles it a little bit, but I also think it kind of makes it a cool little variation. So you can see I've started February a little bit. February is the Princess and the Frog. I've got the castle started, and then I've got frog legs, but no actual frog. I planned to get a lot more done on this than I did. Because I forgot I had play tickets Sunday night. We went to see The Play That Goes Wrong, and it was hilarious. I laughed so hard I couldn't breathe at some points. So I guess it was worth not getting as far as I wanted to on my stitching. So that was Grimm's. I did a little bit, and I mean a very little bit, on Wonders of Space. So I've just started the Towers of Creation over here and just got a very little bit of the blue done. This is what I'm going to work on next week, because because it's probably one of my favorite pieces, and I'm getting antsy just sitting back here not having done it. And also, part 3 will come out on March 15th. So if I can get this done, then this one I'll actually be keeping up on. And then maybe I won't feel so stressed about how far behind I am on all my projects. The one I got the most done on this week, because it fit 2 of my requirements for magical stitches, was Natsu. Again, it still wasn't a lot, even though it was the most I got done. It was probably 250 stitches. I added some of the shading on his scarf. And then one of the things that I love about this project and other projects that have the really heavy black outlining is it doesn't take a whole lot before you start to actually see some more definition, and you can see that even in here. I just did a tiny little bit like right in here, and you can already start to see the shape of the torso coming out, and the fact that he's got his arms crossed, like there's his hand and there's the wristband. So it's actually, I like it that the outline helps it take shape really fast, although then going back in, filling in can be kind of boring because you're just doing long strands of single colors. But, so I've made a little bit of progress on Natsu. Probably going to put this one away for a while, just because I've got some other ones that I want to prioritize a little bit higher. But he's there if I get bored, because he's a lot of fun. And of course, what would an update be without an update of my temperature stitch along? I'm about ready to move this to a different Q snap. It's on an 8x8, and I'm about ready to move it to an 11x11 because it's just kind of starting to get a little bit hard to stitch on the edges. So this is current through March 2nd. and just the last few days it started to be in the 50s. Beginning of March, it's going to start to get warmer. I think that I'm going to be sad. I'm going to miss a lot of these blues and turquoises, like the ice blue here that I've done a lot of. Some of these purple ones, the turquoises. Excuse me, I'm going to miss working with those colors because I think they're gorgeous and I love the way this is turning out. I am not going to miss the temperatures that go with those colors. Bring on the 50s, bring on the 60s. I am ready. I could go for some 70s, whatever. The colors may not be as pretty, and I don't know, maybe they will be because I haven't gotten to use a lot of them yet. I think this in here was the 60s. This was some stuff I just did today that is in the 50s and the 60s. Up here, I think we had a day in the 60s somewhere. So, it's coming along really nicely. This is about the only stitch along that I'm keeping up on right now. And I like it a lot. And I like every week on Tuesdays, the Enablers on the Facebook page has Temp Stitch Along Tuesday update. And I get to look at everybody else's too and see. It's amazing how different the same pattern can look when you just switch up the colors. And so it's really cool to see all of them one at a time. The progress on this is going to look like it slows down just because as we keep moving outward, it takes longer to make a full rotation. In fact, I just looked it up today, and March is not even going to make a full rotation. I think it's going to end like here. And this is March 1st. So we're going to be this many days from making a full rotation through the month of March. So it's going to start looking like it's going slower, even though I'm making the same amount of progress, just because the square is getting bigger, and so we're not getting all the way around a rotation in a month. But I'm really happy with it. I really wish that the camera showed it better, the étoile that I've been using for the different weather types, rainy, sunny, cloudy, or snowy, really actually does spark a lot more than you can see on the video screen. And finally, the other thing that I worked on, this is the one that I worked on last night. This is my newest project. It's the Avatar Stitch Along that I've been raving about. And I like it already, even though you can't see. Right now I don't have a lot. I just have the border, a little corner of it. The border we were allowed to, well, you're always allowed to do whatever you want, but the border we were not given a specific color to do, and it was just based on what your fabric was and what you thought you wanted to do when you did a floss toss with all the other colors. I picked this C938. It's the Étoile Ultra Dark Coffee Brown. I was worried it was going to be too dark, but I'm really glad that I chose it because I'm using this. This is a 16 count opalescent raw linen colored Aida, and I think it shows up really well against that color Aida. Both the thread and the fabric, you can kind of see the fabric sparkling a little bit, not so much the thread, but you can see the fabric sparkling a little bit. So it's just really sparkly and it's really fun. And it's full coverage, so it's going to take a lot of stitching. As you can see, I think this is about 350 stitches that I put in it last night, and I got a teeny tiny corner. So, but this is one of the two that I'm going to be working on this week. This is the stitch along that I chose just because it's new and it's fun and it's keeping my attention better than I think some of the other ones might. I'm so far behind on letters from Hogwarts and Grimm's that they're kind of giving me anxiety, so I thought maybe this week I'll just chill out and work on something fun. The other one I'm going to work out, of course, I didn't bring it up here. It's buried somewhere over in my stack of whip boxes that I showed you last week, is I'm going to work on Bad Words Tree, because that is it's a belated Christmas gift by now. But that person's birthday is at the end of the month, so my goal is to have it to them at least by their birthday. And I think, as I've mentioned before, it's a particularly frustrating one for me just because of the amount of color changes and counting, and sometimes I feel like the counting isn't intuitive to what I would have done. Um, and so I mess it up more than I care to admit. I think I told my friend by the time she gets it, I'll have actually stitched it 3 times, but only one will still be in the fabric. Um, so yeah, that's the one I'm going to be working on this week. That's all I've got for WIPs. As for media, I haven't been doing a lot. I've been binging Avatar. I went to a watch party for Forensic Files 2. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I'm a forensic scientist and I totally geek out over that sort of thing. And so a bunch of my friends and I got together, a bunch of my coworkers and I got together to watch the new Forensic Files, and I don't know what to think yet. I only saw 2 episodes. I really miss Peter Thomas as the narrator, but what can you do? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the new narrator, but the stories were interesting. So I'll probably continue to give it a try. And book-wise, I am not going to do the Magical Stitches book this time around. I didn't like Disney After Dark, so I'm not going to continue with the Kingdom Keepers series. I'm going to do the alternate, which conveniently, the book that I mentioned last week about Victorian medicine actually fits the alternate prompt for that book. And I started the Vampire Knitting Club, which seems like it's going to be a cute little mystery. It's got a supernatural bent. We've got vampires, we've got witches. I'm not very far into it yet. But there's a really cute black kitten named Nyx. And I don't know, I think I might enjoy it. Although it seems kind of, so far it seems to remind me a little bit of a Discovery of Witches, just in the fact that you've got a vampire male main character and a witch female main character, and I don't know. I reserve judgment for now. So that's really all I've been doing media-wise. I haven't had a lot of time to myself, so that's all. Anyway, so to sum up, from now on, for the foreseeable future, videos will be out every 2 weeks instead of every week. I am getting around to doing some of the Learn by Doing videos. Hopefully this will give me some time to arrange some of those, but I will tell you that it's on my list soon to corner one of my friends who knows how to crochet and get them to teach me how to do that. And the sewing project that I wanted to work on, I'm still trying to figure out how to make that work. I still have one sewing machine up at my dad's place, so it's going to be until I get a chance to get up there and get that. But those are coming. I didn't forget. This isn't just going to be a show you what I'm working on channel. That was never what I intended it to be. Like I said, this is something to help me get better at being brave and trying new things, and so I'm going to stick with that and make sure that it happens. Anyway, have a great evening, happy March, and I will see you in 2 weeks with the next video. Have a nice night.